Welcome to the Binge Breakers podcast. I'm Jacqueline. I am here to teach you how I overcame bulimia and my binge eating disorder, and how you can too. Through simple steps of mind management, repairing your relationship with yourself, understanding your habits, and intuitive eating.
Disclaimer. This recording is not intended to be utilized as medical advice or a medical diagnosis. If you think you're in need of medical attention or treatment, please seek it immediately. This recording will also contain sensitive subjects such as binging and purging, weight, and depression. Please listen at your own discretion and do what you think is best for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we have on a special guest, one that has been on many a times before, and I've collabed with him before, but yours truly, Marcus Kane, is joining me on the podcast today. Marcus is the host of the Strong Not Starving podcast, and he also struggled with binge eating for a long time, amongst doing other things like being a rock star musician and all this other stuff, and being a trainer. But he made a post weeks or months ago at this point about a shameful experience he had during his eating disorder days, or even past his eating disorder days, with food. And it got me thinking about my traumatic stories I had, some of the most pivotal moments that I had with my eating disorder that were filled with a lot of shame. So we started talking and we sent messages back and forth about how we should totally do a podcast episode about trauma dumping about our eating disorder stories. So that's what this is. And it was fun to just rehash all of that, but we also learned a lot of lessons about why certain moments like that happened, and reviewing them with each other, talking about honesty and shame that comes up with it, what we could have done differently, what we wish we knew. We talk about things like buffet binge eating or binge eating at work, having those moments where being confronted about what's going on, stealing food from your roommates or, grocery stores, that sort of stuff, and just many specific moments, and eating food instead of spending time with your loved ones. So it was a great episode. So many gems. Listen to it all the way through. Listen to it again. And also there's an episode, the same episode is on Marcus's podcast. If you have not listened to the Strong Not Starving podcast, go check it out. I was re-listening to a few of his episodes this week, just kind of keeping up to date with what's going on, but I love them. He's so much to offer, and his perspective, we have a lot of crossover in what we do, but the way he explains it is always enlightening. So I'd highly recommend you check out his podcast and his resources and his coaching. He just offers so much wisdom to the world. So I hope you enjoy our collaboration. And if you like it, give this podcast a rating and review. Also, it helps us out, helps me out, helps Marcus out, all those things. And I hope you get some value from this episode. And at the very least, it makes you feel not so alone. All right, enjoy. Bye. Hello, public podcast listeners. I hope you guys are doing well. Today's episode will be different, as it has been the past few months. Something always unique and different going on with me. But it's been a crazy week for me, a week where I have moved, and it's just a little bit up in the air with things. But I'm officially moved into my new place, and it was just a busier week than I thought it'd be. Therefore, this episode's going to be quite short, and I'm okay with that. I just wanted to touch base with you guys and say hello. But I was thinking about what I wanted to do for this episode. I was originally going to do an episode about FOMO, and that will probably be next week. But instead of trying to fake my way through an episode about FOMO that I just don't have the capacity to do, even though it affects a lot of people, FOMO and binge eating, I just don't want to do it right now. And I'm going to choose not to push through, even though I could. I just would rather deliver you a quality episode on that at a later time. But lots been going on for me, and I will update you soon on that. And I feel like I'm finding the place where I can kind of start concentrating on me again. But I wanted to share a story today from a client session that I actually had. I was working with someone that she is over 50. So for those of you guys that are, in the older category of bulimia, a lot of people think bulimia is just a teenage thing, teenage white girl thing. It is most certainly not. She's been struggling with bulimia and her eating disorder for 40 years, a long, long time. And she started working with me about 6 months ago, around March. And we, maybe later, I don't know, but about 6 months have passed. And today, it had been a few weeks since we had spoke, because she's doing so much better. She's now 115 days clean from binging and purging. And I don't usually make my clients count, but she wanted to. And those are just consecutive days. They don't include all of the days. But she's doing so much better. And she actually stopped calorie counting too, which is something she was regularly doing the whole time that we were working together, which is amazing. But today is interesting because she came to the call feeling very sad and she realized that there was such an emptiness without her eating disorder. And there was this lack of connection she was missing in her life, and just really, really, truly sad about it, in despair about it. And it was interesting. She was in such pain, and I asked her, do you want to change or not feel this pain, or do you want to feel it? Is there anything we should do about this pain? And she was like, no, I want to feel it. It's kind of therapeutic. It feels right. And she said, the odd thing is I feel all this pain, but it's hard. I don't want to go back to my eating disorder though. And I know that this pain is because I probably have never allowed myself to feel what's actually going on. And my eating disorder has isolated me to the point where the connection that I could feel with other people, I'm not feeling because it was my eating disorder that took the place of that. And so we just were kind of with the pain for a little bit. But then she said something brilliant, and I wish I had the quote, wrote it down. Actually, I do have the quote. One second. The quote was that she finally has this space. And what we meant by that is we were talking about how she's longing for connection, and this emptiness she's feeling is a loss of connection. But she said, it's interesting. I don't think I would have been a good friend or been able to have the connections I wanted to have while I had my eating disorder. Now that space is here and it's painful, but it means that I have room and capacity for it. And I thought it was such a brilliant thing. And the hard part about it, but a good part about it, is that pain is allowing her to have room for more people. It's an emptiness sort of pain. It's a yearning sort of pain. There's something missing that her eating disorder is taking the room of, and now there is room. And it's like clearing out. I just moved from my apartment to a new apartment, and it's weird seeing my room so clean and nothing going on, and then coming into another clean space that had nothing in it and then putting stuff in it. Just such a human being sort of thing to do. But I share all this with you for a few reasons. One, that there's hope. I don't know. I don't care how long you've been struggling. I talked to someone the other day that is 63 and is struggling with bulimia and is ready to recover. And she's going on this journey. It's never over until you say it's over. You always have a second chance to recover. You can always do something to improve yourself upon that. You can always change at any time in your life. You don't have to be a certain age. You don't have to be a certain, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, intelligence, anything. I think most people can recover. I think everyone has the capacity to change. So that's one thing. And this is a very hopeful story of this client. And two, just because you recover doesn't mean you'll always feel okay. And that's something I've learned a lot again recently, that I think these past few months have been one of the most challenging months from my recovery since I recovered. Honestly, it's been really hard. But I've made it through, and it was a big lesson for me. And, not just because you recover doesn't mean everything's fine, and you have to have bigger reasons not to go back to bulimia. And then it brings me to a third reason, that bulimia, it takes up so much space in your life. And we think that's a good thing, that there's not going to be anything else to take up that space, but there's so much, and you just don't know it until you remove it. And then you can see everything that you need, or everything that you're yearning, or you can just discover things, So I'm having a little trouble speaking today, but being sad because your eating disorder is not a reason to go back to your eating disorder. But it is a sign that it was fulfilling something for you. And what's great about that is that you can fulfill it in other ways. And what this client said about the fact that she would like more friendship, she would like more connection, and the eating disorder was filling that need, but she didn't have the space right before, and now she does. The beauty of the pain that the eating disorder removal brings you is that you have now a clean kind of space in your soul for newness in your life that you haven't yet to be discovered. Even me, I'm discovering so many new things about myself through this journey of splitting up with my partner, my ex, and living this new life in a new city on my own, and finding cool new things to do, and exploring new connections, and just taking each day as it comes, and running around the city and exploring new things that way. It's just a discovery opportunity. It's painful in many, many ways, though, at the same time, and that's okay. Just because something is painful, just because something's sad, just because something has mixed emotions of bitterness and sorrow does not mean it's not a reason to turn back, especially to bulimia. So hopefully this podcast makes sense. I'm going to post it either way. We're going to commit to it. We're going to make decisions. I just wanted to give you kind of a hopeful, happy story that this person is going through their own recovery journey, that they have had such an incredible story when it comes to being able to recover after such a long amount of time, but then also running into challenges in their recovery, but then still going strong because they know ultimately it's not because the eating disorder is so good. It's just the eating disorder is fulfilling a need that now they need to find a better way to fulfill that need, which is connection from a person rather than binging and purging on food. Okay, and I'll let you guys go. Never ever give up on yourself, guys. Please don't. I promise that I will have the FOMO episode up for you next week. I'm sorry that this episode is just a little bit different. I'm at the end of a journey of mine and I'm starting a new chapter very soon. And thank you so much for being patient with me over the past few months. It's been hard, but I'm also happy I went through it, and I feel like I can connect much better to people that are struggling through things like this now that I've gone through it myself. All right, never give up on yourself.